So just picking up from where we left off, I neglected to paint my CDI covering case. So went ahead and pulled the old oil seal, put a new one in. Got this all cleaned up, painted, same with the cover. So now, I've had a couple comments in my previous video saying that I should wait until I can get the proper springs for this spark advancer. Now the springs I made are I'm pretty sure by the way the one that came out of that little piece, there was a lot more tension in that than there is in these springs. Now this ran without springs at all. So it can probably run better, but there's some suggestion that potentially this could fly apart and do real bad things. So what I've done is I went ahead and I ordered 2 new springs at my local Honda dealership, and they should be here tomorrow. But for the meantime, I'm just going to go ahead and stick this together just because I want to make sure everything lines up. So like when this is over the slot, this is supposed to be pointing right toward the top of here, and it is for the most part. So I just want to get the pin in there and make sure it fits up well so I know my timing is correct. So I'm going to clean up these couple bolts, get this on, and I'll put the rest of the CD on and just have a look at it. So this tiny little dowel pin is what keeps the spark advancer in position. So you'll see right here there's a little notch that matches up with a hole in here on the shaft where this pin goes. So the pin goes in, this goes on over, and it keeps it in place. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a little assembly lube. I'll just put a bit in the hole, that way when I put the pin in there, it'll stick in there, it shouldn't fall out too easily. So. So there you go, sort of dark, but you can see right in here, that's where the dowel pin is, that little piece in there. Just to focus again. There we go. So I'm going to put the spark advancer on over that. We're going to check it to make sure it's lined up with our mark here on top of the valve.
This time we're gonna get funky. Funky.
Okay, so all the CDI gear is installed. Like I said, I got 2 new springs for that advancer coming tomorrow. The sprocket now, I just got over here drawing, so I got the sprocket done in silver, and the little washer goes on the inside, I've done in black just because I wanted that contrast. Not like you'll see it anyways because it's going to be under the sprocket guard anyways. So now we're going to put some oil in this engine. So here are the oil capacities for a 1980 XL125. At oil change, 0.9 liters, 0.98 quarts. At overhaul, 1.2 quarts, 1.1 liters. So I've got this stuff here, comes 946 mil, so I've got one whole one. I've got another part of one in my cupboard up there. So I'm going to go ahead and put all of that in there. We'll rotate the engine a few times using the kicker to make sure everything feels good, and then I'll go ahead and top it up.
This time we're gonna get funky. Funky.
So my kicker for this motor is the original one, but it's completely toast in here. It's after being welded and whatnot before. So I just popped down to my local Honda shop and I picked up an aftermarket replacement. This is the model number for the motor I have for the replacement. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this mounted up. I'm gonna give it a few kicks and just see how it feels, and then we'll probably do some compression testing on it. I know it's gonna be not as good as it can be because the rings are new and they have more in it, so they won't wear in until the motor gets run for a while. But then I just want to see what it's going to be for the time being. So I'm going to put this on and we're going to give it a kick. So I really like the way that black kicker looks on the motor in silver. So I'm going to go ahead, give it a few kicks and see what our compression says. So I went ahead and tested the compression, and it's currently coming in around 160 to 165. The numbers for this are 192 plus or minus 21. So if you take 21 off 192, we're at 171 for 6 pounds under-ish. This is with new rings that haven't had a chance to seat. Gorgeous day here today. Here on the east coast of Canada. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and put these actual spark advancer springs, which are, by the feeling of it, probably have twice the tension that the ones that I made have. So take those and put them in the CDI on this here. Give you a better view of that. What do you believe behind it? Yeah, so we're going to take the CDI off quick, put that in there, so we'll put that up on the bench, and then that is going in this. And then I think it might be time to kick the motor over and get it running in the frame. First thing I want to do is I want to get these oversized bolts out. These are for somewhere else on the bike. I just put them in here to hold the muffler in place for now. I've got 3 replacement bolts there. And these ones that they gave me at the Harbor Place are zinc plated, but I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. And if it is noticeable, then I'm probably just going to hit it with a bit of black marker anyway so you don't see them. But either way, let's get these 3 bolts out, get these stripe proper ones in, and get the muffler mounted in securely.
This time we're gonna get funky. Funky.
So there's the muffler, nice and secure. 3 bolts with lock washers. Pretty sure for the most part these are going to be hidden by side panels and stuff. Not sure with this one, if you can see it. I literally don't care. So, moving on, let's see if we can get that motor up in there.
This time we're gonna get funky. Funky.
That's in there for the most part. So I got to put the rear upper bolt and spacers through, put all the nuts on and torque them, and I think then maybe we'll put some gas in the bowl of the carburetor, get the front part of the exhaust on. We'll give it a few kicks and see if it'll run for us. Either way, look at this. It's starting to become a motorcycle. So once again, I had someone pop by while I was working on stuff, but in the meantime, this is where we're at right now. So I went ahead and I put the muffler in, got that all secure. Then went ahead and got the motor in. All the mounts are tightened up. The front part of the exhaust is hooked up to the muffler now. So I think at this point, what I'm probably going to do next is get some pegs on, get the kickstand on, and then I'm probably going to look at getting the wiring harness on so we can give it a few kicks and get it running. So I want to hear it running in the frame now. So let's continue what we're doing. So I went and cleaned up my harness for the most part. A couple pieces I repainted. So this, everything else I retaped. I didn't bother retaping the end that goes out to the signal lights and the brake light and stuff, because this was bushered up from before, and I'm gonna have to pretty much wire this stuff together manually once I get it on the bike. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go ahead and put the CDI on the frame. We're gonna go ahead and start laying out the wiring harness on the frame so we can get the motor hooked up to the kill switch, give it a few kicks, and see if we can't make it run.
This time we're gonna get funky.
So at this point I got everything hooked up that I need to get spark. So now it's time to get a bit of gas into that float bowl and see if this thing's going to run for us.
This time we're gonna get funky. Funky.
Okay, so I got a bit of gas down in it. The bowl should have a bunch of gas in it now. I gave it a few kicks and adjusted it cock, so switch is on. Should be gas. And go ahead and give her a kick. We get a bit of smoke out of the pipes and stuff now because it's the first time it's run with that new paint on it. But other than that, we should be good. I like the sound of it. So yeah, all that paint will stop smoking eventually when it's running off. So yeah, I'm super pumped right now. This is fucking awesome. Okay, so now I'm ready to go ahead and get the battery box installed.
This time we're gonna get funky. Funky.
So my hope for these parts was that I'd be able to find vinyl decals, and unfortunately I can't. So what I did was I picked up some 12x12 sheets of Orcal 651 vinyl, stuff you usually use in like the Cricut cutters and stuff like that. I don't have a Cricut cutter, but anyways, I made them by hand to the correct size. Well, it would be similar to what the outline of that green piece is. But I was just having a hell of a time trying to get them down, to stick down. It's just almost impossible. No matter what, you end up with crinkles and shit in the vinyl. So what I'm going to do is I've taped essentially what we're going to have painted black. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my good frog tape, go around the outside of this and keep it tight to that edge. Then I can peel off the inside tape, tape everything else off, give this a scuff, and then get it painted with gloss black. So we're going to do that. For that, I'm probably going to fill this in with a bit of Bondo too, actually. Usually the sticker just sits right over top of that. And when I try to put the sticker on this side, it would dip down in and stick and bubble and all kinds of crap like that. So I'm going to fill that, sand it, and it'll paint this black as well. So I just shot a very quick light coat to see how this is going to turn out for us. Here's hoping it works well. The last thing I want to do is have to strip this panel and repaint it again. So that's coat one. I'll give it the 15-20 minutes to dry, and then we'll hit it again. Okay, so I'm gonna hit this with light coat number 2. The reflection's kind of weird there, so I'm gonna leave you guys to here-ish. Okay, coat number 2. So we'll give that a few minutes now to see how the finish turns out. And at that point we'll decide if we're going to peel the tape or if we're going to hit it with one more coat. So here's the result of doing that, what's usually done with vinyl, in black paint instead. So I think it came out pretty good. I'm happy with it. It's going to be orange peely, but I think for all intents and purposes, we should be good. So we'll call that one done. So I filled the little channel with some Bondo. I'm going to give that a half hour. I'm going to give it a quick scuff, see if we need any more. We'll likely need another light coat. So while I'm waiting for that to dry now, I've got this one on the bike. The paint is still drying. It's going to be a day or so for that paint's drying up before I want to do anything else with that. So what I'm working on now is the rubber that goes, I guess we can look at it on the bike here. Where the tank mounts on the front of the bike, these little rubber things go over this, and then the tank fits over there. When I got the bike, there's only ever one with it, so what I'm doing is I've got a 12 by 12 sheet of styrene butadiene rubber. Usually use this stuff for making impellers on impeller kits for snowblowers to help close up the clearance. So what I did was I just cut it a couple squares. So you can see two of these stacked is the same width as this, so it's 1/4 inch sheet, this is 1/2 inch. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim those down to circular, and then I'll drill a hole through one and I'll glue them together with some crazy glue, and then that should give me my other rubber stopper or whatever for mounting the tank.
This time we're gonna get funky. Funky.
So now I've got both the side covers painted. This one for the left side, this one for the right side. I also got the heat shield there on the back of this one. I've kind of been a bit scatterbrained with regard to putting stuff back in the bike. Like I went ahead and put the battery box on and started fiddling with this and that. I'm going to try to rein it in, try to make it a bit more regular. So what I'm going to do now is, because I'd like to have a regular supply of gasoline going to the carburetor, I'm going to try to get the striping done on the tank. And then I got some logos there that someone printed off for me on vinyl. They look a bit small. They're kind of small. I think they're going to be too small for the tank, but I'll fit one up and have a look at it and see how it goes. Maybe we'll stick them on, maybe I'll wait, and I'll try to print some more off this week myself. But in the meantime, one quick thing I want to do is I just pulled the brake lever out of the parts pile here, and I want to check and make sure that the switch is actuating, it's working properly. So I'm going to put my tester on that quick to make sure it works. Then we're going to put this stuff back on the parts shelf, which is starting to get sparse, and we're going to go ahead and focus on getting our stickers on the side panels and the tank. So one thing I've noticed with the switch is the two pieces of copper that come into the switch are really close, and I think they were touching at one point. I just went ahead and separated them with the end of my probe here. So now when I have this on when the thing is open, so this would be someone pulling on the brake, you see 0 ohms. And then when I push it in, as in the brake is off, then it goes to disconnect. So that tells me that this should work. But the only thing is, I gotta watch these wires crossing up here. I might see if I can push this barrel out and fix how the wires attach to this. Maybe I can make it a bit better. So I'll see if I can poke it out and we'll give it a go. So as you can see here on that little switch that activates the brake light when you use the brake lever on the right hand, these two wires, when I first tested it, they were kind of, let me see if I can get this set up so you can see it. Yeah. So they're kind of mushed together like this. And focus, right there. Yeah, so they're mushed together. You can see they were touching, and so that's no good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure they're separated, and then I'm going to get some taping around them, and that way they'll never touch again, hopefully. So I'm going to tape that up, and then I'm probably going to want to blast those levers too, but I'm just going to take care of this electrical bit right now, and then we're going to start getting stickers on stuff. Okay, so I went ahead and got some tape around those two connections up here close. So they should be protected now. And then I went ahead and I just put a piece of black heat shrink on this, so now it'll look mostly stock. So I'm going to give it one quick test again to make sure all is well, and we'll stick that back together and put it back in the part shelf. So what I want to do now is I want to try to reproduce this white line that separates the red and the black, as well as the black and white lines that run across the top of the tank here. So looking at the tank, that would be a white line here, and then the black and the white lines from the back along this all the way to the front here. So what I've got is I picked up some 12 by 12 sheets of Oracal 651 vinyl. This is the same stuff you use in like cricket cutters and stuff like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut long straight pieces out of it on the diagonal, so it's pretty much long enough for what we need on the tank. And if it doesn't get us there, then we can just join pieces, and I'll join them up toward the front part of the tank so it's less noticeable. I went ahead and checked the logos that someone had printed off for me. These are printed off on vinyl. They're, I don't know if you can see, but they're black Honda letters outlined in white. I sent them the graphic of this. I did it up in an image manipulation application called GIMP. But I told them that they had to be about 8 inches long, and these are nowhere near big enough. So the stickers are supposed to run from just past the front of the bung there to about this point right here where my index finger is, and this is like half the size it should be. So I'm probably going to look at trying to print some of those off myself if I can find a place to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and get some lines cut. I'm going to get this tank striped up. So after about a half hour of careful cutting and laying out, this is our line scheme on our tank. So we've got our nice white line separating the black and the red on the bottom. Then on the top, we've got our white and our black separating the sides from the top of the tank. It looks pretty decent, don't you? Yeah, actually, I think it looks really, really nice. It turned out really, really well. Better than I thought it would, actually. So now all I got to do left to do for the tank is get some bigger logos printed up, because those little tiny ones are no good. They should be like this as opposed to the ones that I got that are like that. So I'll get those printed up this week. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and get the white stripes laid out along the perimeter of the side panels now. So here are side panels with the logos on them. If you get in close, you'll see the matte vinyl material between the lettering and stuff. If you look at them at an angle, you'll see the reflection stops in between them. But, you know, they look pretty decent. If you're looking at them from 5 feet away, it looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm starting to look at getting all the controls and whatnot on the bars now and up front. That way I can start hooking things up. What I want to do first is, this is the gear shift lever, excuse me, and I'm after bending it a bit. I'm just trying to get the final couple bits of bend on it, so I want to get it back into good shape before I blast it and paint it. So now that mounts on the bike, we're gonna get our foot under there to shift it properly. Before it was like, wow, actually it came out before it went really far like this. So I got it back in shape for the most part. I'll get that in the blaster now, I'll give it a nice shot of black paint, and we should be good to move on to working on our controls and stuff. next logical step is to start looking at all our controls. So what I want to do is I want to get the bar set up. That way we can start the bike, control it using the throttle, all our turn signals and high low beam lights, not the horn. I don't even think I've got a horn, honestly. I don't have to buy one. But either way, it's all there set up, and we can start testing some of the electrics, as well as when we're running the bike, we can actually use the throttle to manipulate the engine speed, as opposed to just pulling up on that piece of cable that's in the top of the carburetor now. Okay, so I just want to quickly mention one thing. Today's the 9th of June. It's a Sunday. It's about 6:30 in the evening. My goal for this is to get the build completed by Friday coming, so June 14th. And the reason being is one of the local Honda shop is having a show where I've got the ATC 70 entered, but I also want to bring this along with me. So I've got 6 days essentially to finish knocking this out. So we've got the bike running, the harness is pretty much in, we've got our tank, our side panels, we just need some logos for the side of the tank. Our control pieces are here, painted, and I'm going to give them until tomorrow before I assemble those and put them back together. And then other than that, we've just got our shelf and finish parts done here. So we got the cluster and component holder for up front, headlight, our undermount guard, you got a chain guard back there. We also got the heat shield for the muffler, new grips, all that stuff's ready to go on. Our new fender is there. We have to clean up our rear light, tail light housing. The inner fender piece is there under the red fender for the rear. And then we've just got a couple small pieces up top left to finish up, like one of our blinker stocks is cracked off. We're going to have to fix that by welding it up and then getting it painted. So I'm pretty confident that we'll get this done by Friday coming, hopefully even sooner. That way we can spend a nice solid evening of getting that and the ATC. I got stuff laid all over it. Getting that and the ATC all cleaned up and ready for the show next Saturday. So once again, I want to thank you guys for watching, and hopefully you'll see me in the next one with a completed motorcycle. Stay tuned.